Life at Sea podcast. Here, we will share the skills you need to make your experience and adventure out at sea a success. Hear inspiring stories from experienced crew from all diversities. Gain knowledge and know your rights. Be part of the crew, Life at Sea. And let's welcome your host, Raymond Crystal.
Hello and welcome to Crew Life at Sea, the only place where you can find useful information, advice, insights and resources to help inspire you to take that next step in working on a cruise ship. Today we are very lucky to have with us a guy who's been in the business for quite a while. His name is Rico and he's a cruise director. I don't know why they call him Rico, but we were going to find out about that. Rico, how are you?
I'm great, Raymond. How are you?
I'm very good. So why do they call you Rico?
It's a funny story, eh? I started this career 20 years ago, and even though my name is Enrique, having so many nationalities coming to cruise, it was a little more challenging and people will never remember. So it came down to Rico. We just shortened down the name and it has worked.
Have you used that for many years?
Many years.
I like that name, Rico. It's like
Me
one of these,
too.
Hey, Rico. So, how many years have you been at sea?
I've been at sea for 20 years now.
Wow, another pure veteran of the ocean.
I was born to do this.
Can you tell me, how did you get to where you are?
Well, it was 1998. I was working for Club Med on land, and those days I just got married. And my wife and I decided to come and try 6 months. Come and do a contract, travel a little bit, save some money and go home. And in the process, we both fell in love with this life. And the rest is history. Here still, 20 years later, I'm here.
Wow. What does your wife doing on board?
She's retired now. We have a baby and, she's at home with a kid.
That's where they're supposed to be, right? What does a cruise director actually do on board?
Well, there's different things, but mainly the cruise director is responsible for the entertainment. In addition to that, the cruise director is the voice and the face of the ship, as he will be the one hosting most of the cocktail parties, whether it's with the captain or hotel director, making the announcements, and basically he's available or she's available for the guest 24/7.
Okay, so but what made you decide? There's so many different opportunities on the ships. What made you decide to be a cruise director? Or did you start from something?
Well, coming from my background in Club Med and sports, I was hired to do activities when I first came in 1998. And one thing led to another, and this is my field, the entertainment, dancing, singing, doing shows, and one thing led to another one. I became an assistant cruise director, and shortly thereafter I became cruise director, and I just love it.
Wow, so you got to start from like assistants and then move yourself up.
Absolutely. I mean, if you come from a background that entertainment, whether it's a DJ, a dancer, a singer, a pianist, or any type of music, from the music side, whether you play trumpet and so on, we have cruise directors that come from either being a piano player or a dancer to people who know just about entertainment.
Oh, interesting. So what would the process be if somebody wanted to work on board as a cruise director? How would they go about it?
Well, depending on which country you're from,
yes,
you will need to contact your agent, and you will have an interview, and from there they will probably gauge whether you're already set up for cruise director directly. If not, sometimes they might hire you as an assistant cruise director. And for the youngsters, they usually will get started as an activities staff, but then there's opportunity always to move up the ranks quickly.
Okay, yeah, you got to start from the bottom, guys.
It's the best way to do it, because then you learn the ropes. You learn absolutely everything there is to know about the positions.
Yes, of course. That's how even I started. I started as an assistant, and then I moved up to managerial. So, what happens if you become sick one day? How does somebody get on the stage?
That's a very good question, eh? In all my years, I remember only once in 20 years I was sick for 2 days. And I was very lucky to have an assistant who was capable, and he was able to actually cover me for those 2 days. But usually it's like a captain, when you get sick, there's no one else really to cover you, but you will find someone who can come in and make the announcements and perhaps keep the program going, because as you know, we set up everything in advance. So when we are in a current cruise, we have already planned all the way through until the next one. So it's basically to have a team that can just step up and then cover the position.
Excellent. Yeah. When it comes to your scheduling for the entertainment, how do you go about doing your scheduling?
Well, as you know, the cruise director is responsible for different areas, from international ambassadors to activities host, broadcast, musicians, and shows. And basically everything starts with the planning. There are a couple of factors that we always take in place: the length of the itinerary, the demographics, the parts of the world where we might be. Sometimes we might be in Asia or Brazil, and what we try to do is to manage the local entertainment if we can bring on board. But most importantly is the arrival and departure times, what time the dinner settings are, and so on. And we marry all these things together, and then we come up with a plan that there should be a flow so people can enjoy everything without being interrupted by one activity or the
Not
other.
so easy, eh? Some problems come up, I'm sure.
Every now and then you come into situations that is difficult, perhaps if the weather is bad, if we miss a port, when we have sea days on end, like coming up soon, we have 10 sea days. We need to plan everything by the minute to make sure that everything...
with 1 hour forward for the next 7 days in a row.
The crew will feel it, that's for sure.
They're gonna hate it. I'm sure you've had quite a few unhappy guests because you're always in front of the house. How do you handle this, Rico?
Well, I gotta say that most of the guests are usually happy, 99%, but you always have that 1% that you can never ever please. And you can identify these guests very early on the cruise. However, we are trained to deal with these passengers, and we are as diplomatic as we can be, and we try our best to make sure that one way or another these people leave the ship happy.
Yeah, of course. There's always some person, if you can't get through to them, that's in their mindset. They're not interested. Doesn't matter, even if hell over water, they don't care.
But we continue to try until the end of the cruise, so the guests leave with a smile.
That's just one person. Can you imagine the full theater? Guests are waiting for a show. They're all waiting. The pressure's on. All of a sudden, something happens. How do you get to make them all at ease, because the show can't go on maybe for some reason, or maybe someone fell and, I don't know, damaged the leg with one of the show. How do you stop a show?
That's a very good question, and I have been in those situations several times in my years as a cruise director. The one thing I learned, you need to face the music. The moment you realize that there's something wrong, whether it's related to sound, lights, the rigging, that the curtain doesn't come up, one of the staff has fallen, and so on. What I've done always, I go out on stage, and this is what a good cruise director comes to it. You need to have material. You need to be able to keep the people entertained. And that's one of the things. I'm not a comedian, but I can do a comedy show easily for 30-40 minutes.
So every night before you go to sleep, you're reading these joke books, right?
Well, I have in my younger years, I did, and you learn working in the industry from comedians and other cruise directors and so on. And this is, I would say, it's one of my abilities to be able to communicate with the guests and keep them entertained and always be honest. Don't try to cover the situation. You got to come out on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a situation, and in there you got to just transition into a joke or start talking about the day, the tomorrow. You need to have always enough material handy in mind, fresh, that you can share with a guest.
Oh, that's something I knew, but I didn't know in that type of a way.
You cannot freeze, because then everything will really go to shambles.
Oh, what parts of your job do you find most challenging? The most challenging job that you have to do?
The most challenging job, I think, goes to the crew and also the guests. And I explain myself, basically the crew, because I want to make sure that my crew is happy. I always believe that if the crew is not happy, we cannot make the guest happy. It's as simple as that. So having, sometimes many different staff coming from different countries, they all have different expectations and they want different things, such as different food, different schedules. They expect to go out in certain ports. As you know, we love for people to go out and enjoy the day, but we're here to work. So sometimes it's a challenge to instill on people's mind that, we need to have the responsibility to be on time, to have the proper uniform, and to provide them with everything that they need.
Yeah.
When it comes to the guest, also the guests have different expectations. They come from different countries, different backgrounds. And some companies, more than other people, pay a lot of money to be here, and the expectations are really, really high. So I find challenging at times to please everybody, to find exactly what they want and give to them.
I can imagine, because sometimes when we go to a port and then the captain goes on and says, we can't go there due to weather. And like an example, I wanted to go to St. Bart's once again to do my jiu-jitsu, and I planned everything. 11 o'clock, they fetched me, they waiting for me. Boom, my luck. We're not going there today. And I'm like, so,
and it happens, yeah.
I can imagine how they feel. It really must piss them off.
Imagine when you have a ship with 3, 4, 5,000 passengers.
And you're the cruise director.
And you're the one, again, what I said at the beginning, the cruise director is the one that faces the music.
Yeah,
you need
they
to
come
talk
to
to
you.
the guests. It's not the captain or the hotel director. They don't see those guys.
That's why you get the big bucks. So tell me a little bit about your hours and how you schedule your day.
Well, I start bright and early. I usually wake up at 6:30 in the morning, depending on arrival times. Sometimes, as you know, we arrive at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I need to be up probably 45 minutes to an hour before the arrival. I get ready and I go to the office. I do usually the clearance of the ship once the authorities give us the okay. I check the weather conditions for the day, and basically I tell the guests how the day is going to be going. When it comes to the weather, arrival, departure time, especially what time they need to be back on board.
Yeah.
And then the day consists of several meetings and then planning. We discuss what happened the previous day, and then we get ready.
So when do you fit in time to go to the gym? Because just to let the people know, you're a little masculine guy, very fit, black belt in some kind of martial arts.
Well, that's a good question, because a lot of people think that when you come to work on a ship, you work all day. It's not the case. We all have some free time, as you know. So everybody has different hobbies on board. Some people like to go out to the beach. Me, because I've been to all these ports, I like to take a half an hour, and go and stretch myself at the gym,
Yes, we can see. Knowing what you know now, if you could change one thing, what would it be and why?
I wish I would have started earlier in this industry.
Wow, when did you start?
It's a great life. By the time I started, I was 25 years of age.
Wow.
But I wish I would have started before, because honestly, once the sea touches you, life on land is never the same. You fall in love with this life, and you just can't get enough.
Yeah, getting paid to see the world for free.
For people who want to give it a try, I guarantee 99% will love it.
Yeah.
They will come in and they will love it, to be able to meet people. I have friends like you, probably, Ray, from all over the world.
Yeah, I have lots all over the world.
We are 40, 50 nationalities on board, and we all get along, we respect each other, we're a family.
Yeah, it's
really.
like the UN.
So I really love it, man. This is the kind of place where you do your work, and the rest is just fun.
Yeah, it's true. Especially when you work on a bigger ship and a small ship. The big ships are kind of more exciting.
You have more to do,
yeah,
the crew
more
members.
to do, more crew. So obviously you've worked on the big ships.
Absolutely. I've done 4,500 passengers,
Wow.
and I've done 200.
So what is the difference for you? Is that for you, your kind of position, it doesn't actually make a big difference?
It does not. It does not make a lot of difference. It's just, for example, on a bigger ship with more guests, you need to move around more to be able to touch
and see
as many
everybody.
passengers as you can, talk to them. You're constantly walking around the ship talking to people. And obviously everything runs later on the bigger ships, because you have 2 shows instead of 1. You have activities after the show. So the days are long, somewhere between 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So those of you who like to give it a try, remember, you will not sleep too much. If you're a sleeper, then life at sea might not be for you. As you know, the crew members, all we look forward to by the end of our contract is to go home and sleep.
Yeah.
We don't want anything else. First, We want to go home and sleep, and then we just take care of everything.
I had a guy I interviewed, and I said to him, "What was the biggest same thing negative of your job? And what do you hate?" He said to me, "Man, I can't handle waking up for 6 months, 6 o'clock every morning. When I get home, I just want to sleep."
We all feel the same. Whether you work in the galley or you are in the spa or a cruise director or whatever the position is, we all have the same feeling. Is like we want to sleep more.
It's just crazy.
It is what it is.
So tell me the negatives and the positives of your job.
Well, the negatives, if you can put it that way, would be that we're away from our families and friends or loved ones for months at a time. And that is always hard. But then the positive is, like I mentioned before, you find a new family. You make a family when you come on board a new ship. It might take a couple of days, a couple of weeks, but eventually we're all here alone. We come here alone. And we're trying to make our time here the best we can, have fun, and there's always a family-like atmosphere that I enjoy very much on ships.
Yeah, I have people from all over Lithuania, Brazil, all over the world. I've got contacts everywhere.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here is the big one. I ask everybody the same question, and I have some crazy stories. If I tell you the last one I had, you will die. I was like sitting there, mouth open, eyes like, what the, So let's see what you've got. You've got like 22 years behind you. So tell me the most shocking thing you have ever encountered or seen in your career at sea.
Wow, this is a tough one after so many years, man.
One of the most shocking one I've had fires, I've had ghost ships.
Well, I can tell you one experience that I will never forget. It was December 15th, 1998.
Even knows the exact date.
Absolutely. I was pretty new then, 20 years ago. And we were going to Martinique. We left San Juan at 10 o'clock at night, and someone had a heart attack, a passenger. So the captain decided to deviate, and we were going to drop the passenger in San Martin, which we did, but on the way out, we hit a reef.
Oh, no.
And the ship was sinking, so we had to evacuate 2,500 passengers between 3 and 5 in the morning. We used a tender service. They woke up half of the town, and we used their tender service to come and get everybody out. And that, I would say, is the most shocking thing I ever experienced. I mean, and the funny thing is, the guy, I met the same person 2 years later. He survived the heart attack and everything, and he took a cruise. So I tell the guy, you cost the company $17 million, and there were a lot of headaches.
Wow, so you
and
actually
he left.
Experienced the
I was there.
full-on evacuation.
Full on. I was there. I have pictures and videos.
What was your
everything.
position at that time?
I was crew staff.
Crew staff.
Use and activities. I was
So
brand new
young
with the company.
and crazy and just having a good time.
It was my 3rd week
What?
at sea, and I love it. Even then, I came back.
Man.
I'm a living proof. 20 years later, I'm still here, man.
Cool. Yes.
I mean, I've been through hurricanes. I've been through crew members jumping, guests jumping.
What? Let's do a crew member jumping.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get to save them or?
I remember this time we had a crew party, and they made an announcement: all crew members go back to your rooms. And we didn't know what happened, so we all go back to the rooms. Some more announcements are made. Look for your roommates. My roommate is here. I report to the bridge until we figured it out. There was someone missing. The guy jumped from the back of the ship on the opposite side where the party was, and we never found the crew member. It's very sad. Very sad.
I hear that when they jump from the back, they go straight under
He's
because
very,
of the
very
suction.
Absolutely, it's very, very, very hard. But
Yeah, it happened with me on one of my companies. We had a missing crew member, and we never ever found them. So we presume they jumped also from deck 5.
So if you're planning to come work at sea, please don't have in mind to jump. They will never find you.
Instantly, you will not be
Oh
found.
man, and
Especially
it's dark
if you
and
jump off the
cold.
back.
Yeah. Stay on board, man.
So, has working at sea changed your life, and why?
Absolutely,
Of
yes,
course.
absolutely. It has changed my life in a positive way. You become someone, in one word, more open to everything, to changes,
Because of
to people
diversity.
with different ideas and different backgrounds. You learn to appreciate the different things from all over the world. You know, every time you go, you may go from the Caribbean to Africa, and then you go to Asia and you go to Europe, and you appreciate everything, the culture, the people, the food.
You have to see that.
It's just
amazing,
beautiful,
eh?
absolutely beautiful.
So you've been at sea for 22 years. Why do you keep coming back?
You know, that's a great question again, Ray. I took a little break when my son was born a few years ago. And many of my friends asked me, you know, you're still young, man. You're going to retire now? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, really. And after a while, the sea calls you back, man.
I know how
It's
you
the
feel.
smell in the air, the fresh wind in your face. There's something about it that keeps calling you back.
Yeah. How old's your son, by the way?
He's 4 years old.
Oh, has he been on a ship yet?
He's been already on 3 cruise ships.
He's a seaborn
Oh,
fella.
my friend. He loves it.
It's awesome, eh? I wish I'm gonna be bringing my daughter on eventually, but in the near future she will be joining me. She hasn't been on yet.
I'm sure she will love it.
I'm sure she will. Try. They love these things. So let me ask you: do you have any advice for the viewers out there, just to before we end it off, something to tell them?
I would recommend to anyone to do their research. You know, do your homework, because a lot of people ask me over the years. I have hired a lot of people too that I have met at airports, on taxis, at parties. People want to know, you know, what can I do? So that's the first thing. Just try to narrow it down to a position. Look, for example, your webpage that you're putting right now, I think is really helpful, because
Thank you.
people can see the different jobs that exist on ships. There's many different positions.
Yeah, that's the
And a
thing.
lot of people don't know, what can I do? I said, well, go and do your homework, and then you can apply for it. And there's always opportunities. We're always looking for people. There are cruise lines out there that keep building new ships. And
Bigger.
the opportunities are endless. Great money. You can save money. You can see the world, make new friends. And then whenever you go home, you know, you can have quality time with your family. You're going to have money in your pocket, and time to sleep in peace when you get home.
That's Rico, thank you so much for being on my show. It was an honor to have such a long veteran on my show. Thank you so much, and we appreciate everything.
My pleasure,
Thank you,
Raymond,
man.
and much success with this
Thank you, Rico.
new
really,
project.
really appreciate it. Thank you so much, man.
My
Ciao.
pleasure.
Thanks for listening to Crew Life at Sea podcast. Want any of your questions answered? Send us an email at CREWLIFEATSEAinfogroup.com. Thank you for being a part of our adventure at sea.